Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Mike Lynch and Repo Rod.
And if there's disciplinary action to be done for that, then so be it. But not just because I want to show you how much a bully we can be.
Oh, yeah.
Look what just happened down in my old clubhouse, man. Holy, allegedly there's 4 murders that went off in there. And this, and then that, and then this, and now look at what's in the newspaper about our club. We can't say back, well, that's just a few of the bad apples. That's not what we say nothing, So I don't know. I have a lot of things that I didn't think were right. And when you voiced them the other day, and I've been sitting here like I'm afraid to ruffle feathers because I'm not. But once I went over yours twice. And I went over it and I wanted to hear the content, and the content was spot on. There's things that happen, and then there's things that you say.
Yep.
And I don't think that Mr. Christie is as knowledgeable or cops to being that knowledgeable about things going on. And everybody on the West Coast knows nothing happens in that county unless Big Daddy knows. That's a fucking fact. Nothing moves. Nothing does this. Oh, we don't do this. Okay, well, on this tape right here, it says that you got a guy outside of another club's member's house, and you're asking him, hey, on the telephone now. No meeting, no. Hey, man, I'm outside dude's house. You want me to go ahead and take this bike while I'm here? Okay. And dude's on the other end of the phone. Well, you know what? Now that you know what time of day it is and where you're going, we'll talk about it. But in a podcast, oh, we don't do that. I went to everybody and I went to the powers of be. We don't do that. We don't do, it's a charter rule. We don't do, except for that pile that we found in my house. You know what I mean? It's cool if the Grand Poobah gets fucked off, but not the rest of us minions that are going to the meetings where when another charter calls and says, hey, look, we're shorthanded, we would feel good. And I say, hey, I grab 2 or 3 of my guys and on the bikes, we go, bam, we go.
Yep.
Okay, you don't ask, well, what do we got? No, if I tell you we're going, if you don't know what that means, that we have an issue and we're going to go settle it.
Yeah.
We're not going to let anybody get picked on or, jumped, or I don't know what you call it. But
Mike, we had it where I'll tell you guys, we're going somewhere. Well, when are we going to be back? Whenever we get back. Well, what are we going to do? Well, I got to call my wife and tell her I'm not going to be home. You'll do that when we get back. Put your phone in that box and lock the box. We're out of here.
Yep.
Well, where are we going? You'll find out when we get there.
And see, that's just, we mean no disrespect to our wives and our girlfriends. But one thing is for sure, and if you don't agree, if you expect your better half to stand tough like you do, and when they start bringing up your children, your house, and them guys, you know how they are. They'll make a broad breakdown and cry, right? And they're telling them, oh, fuck, never mind, CPS is right outside. They'll do that. And women are not used to that or being exposed to that kind of treatment. So if you expect them to hold tough, well, you're wrong. So what do? We don't tell nobody nothing.
Shield them from it, right?
What we're doing is, believe me, I know you don't think it's true, but we're actually saving you from any, because with no doubt in your mind, you're going to say, I don't know And I like it.
Because you shouldn't. They should not know.
Yes. And that pillow talking will get you 20 years, you know.
Thank you. Right there. You got it, man.
Now,
Right
Repo,
on. Spot on.
what pissed you off about George's episode about Philadelphia, Hell's Angels, and the Pagans?
I was there for all of it. I was not one of the pagans that were allowed to come over. Tommy,
Yeah.
I'll strike on this. Tommy was the most upstanding, righteous dude.
Yep. I couldn't say it no better.
Tommy and I went places, man. We spent time together.
Right? They called him Thinker, right? Yeah.
Yep. You know, and we spent a lot of time together. The guy that dropped that case on me for a 9 to 20 year hit, the member that dropped the case on me because he was snitching for money against the club for like a year and a half. He's the one that had his patch party the night Tommy got killed.
Same guy was in his truck. He wasn't on his bike.
Right.
Well, I knew that.
George said,
I talked to everybody when I got out there. I mean, because not that it was for informational purposes, but they explained to me how it happened. He was following a couple guys on bikes. Yeah. He was in his truck. Somebody shot through the back window.
They left out of the club that they were at for the guys' patch party, which was primarily a pagan club. And Tommy told that guy that night, "We're not going there. Pick a different place." And the guys that were, I was actually at another guy's funeral that night, or viewing. I was on my way to that club, and I'm talking to Tommy on the phone. He's like, "Don't worry about it, man. I'm going home. I'm getting ready to leave." And I said, "Well, who's with you?" Well, the one prospect shows up on his motorcycle. So the films down there showed law enforcement sitting in the parking lot and a vehicle sitting in the parking lot. No one went with Tommy. You let your leader walk the fuck out of a place knowing it's a bad zone.
Yes, exactly.
Get in his truck and leave alone. And it was raining, and he was following the kid on the bike. Apparently they stopped, because I know the real story and the lie that was projected for them to tell. When they got out to the expressway, the kid on the bike said to Tommy, "Man, we're being followed." Tommy said, "I know. We make that right, get on the expressway, and I want you to take off. If something goes down, I'll protect you." The vehicle came out behind them, got on the left side, started opening up fire. They cut off Bear Avenue exit off the expressway. And Tommy apparently was ducking down in the truck and caught a bullet here that came out the back of his head.
Yeah, well,
protecting that prospect on the bike who quit less than 1 week later. Left.
Yeah, Tom I like that guy. And then when I got to the funeral, he had like 4 sons, huh?
Well, Mike, we can call them his sons. They weren't legitimately, biologically his sons, but he treated them as his sons.
Right.
The kid's mom, she was a POS. He couldn't stand her. We were actually working on a place. Tommy was leaving that chick, Marge. He was getting rid of her. And he had another really great lady. He hated the fact that he was going to not be around the kids, but he treated them like they were his own.
Yeah, I could see that. It's just sad when you see that. And he wasn't old at all. He was a youngster. He was still pretty. Yeah. He hasn't been worn out like us.
No, I think he was 36 when he was killed.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
You know, and then that whole weekend wasn't all that happy. It was kind of crazy.
My God, it was cold. Oh my God, it was cold.
George says that the reason why all this happened was because the pagan members that became angels weren't loyal to the angels, and a bunch of information that.
Well, Tommy was one of them.
Tommy was a Hell's Angel.
Yeah.
He used to be a pagan, but he was loyal to the angels.
But I'm saying this, go by his example, he was doing what he's supposed to. He dropped one and took the other on, you know.
But the thing with a lot of those guys that came with him, they were not loyal. They were not heart. They were not heart in it. 110% Hell's Angels. The last one that was an ex-pagan, they slow-mo. Ashes, ashes, dust to dust. It's about time he choked, and he's no longer with us. He was a piece of shit. When I followed him around for like 2.5 weeks, you know, he's supposed to be out there taking care of stuff. And you know what he was doing? He was a card player. He was sitting in a private card house, playing cards with a pagan. But, you know, I got to say this. There was 2 guys on a motorcycle. Both of those guys are gone. Tommy and the kid that was a prospect passed away as well. So there's only one guy or whomever out there. And I don't think that guy will ever tell on himself. So it's a cold case. It's a closed case in my eyes. And the only 2 guys that knew who was shooting at him are dead. There's speculation that it was the pagans, okay? Man, it could have been anybody. You know, let him rest is what I say. Yeah. You know, he deserves the rest. It's a long time. In my eyes, you know, he deserves the rest. It took a lot of my life away from me. I got a 9 to 20 year case dropped on me by that member in Philadelphia. Now, this is where some of George's ties lie, you know, where he gets the minutest little bit of credibility in what he said in his podcast. That guy was half Italian, half Irish, so he couldn't be a made member. But he was a worker out there on the street. He should have never been let around, because later on, in my case, we find out that he had sent like 6 dudes up the river 5-6 years ago for life. He was a cooperating informant. Here he is,
right?
And and here he is, a patched member now. Who did their homework on this guy? Yeah. Where he got let in. And when they picked me up on that case he set me up on, you know what they wanted, Mike? We know you're not the guy that did it, but we know you know what we want to know.
Yeah.
So if you just tell us what we want to know, we will make all this go away.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I sat back and I said, so you already know I'm not the dude that did it, but you're going to push this if I don't do what you want me to do.
Yeah, 3-year free and all that.
And I say, go f yourself, do what you got to do. And the story see in court.
Yep. In my instance, I was the West Coast treasurer, you know, 10 years, right? Didn't nobody give me a break. I was the president of my charter, vice president. I transferred to Santa Barbara, and then because I couldn't stand Fresno anymore, they just I say the way I can describe it is coloring outside the lines, you know, and you know better. And then why do I got to get up there as a grown man and say, hey, mother, you know, why do I got to do this when you know goddamn well? And then they would politic the other guy. Oh, Mike's just being a prick, and Mike's this and Mike's that. No, Mike's trying to stay alive and keep our name out of the newspaper.
Tell that story, Mike, about the 2 guys who went to the motorcycle shop, I think it was.
Yeah, we have down the street from the clubhouse, we had a nice motorcycle shop, and the guy was a very well-known drag racer, motorcycles. He was doing the NHRA, And then once there was some politics there going on, he went over to Bonneville Salt Flats and Mirage and all those and started doing the speed record, the land speed record, right? Well, a couple of members in my charter went down to a shop, had a ton of work done on these 2 bikes. They get them done, whatever. And then I know somebody that was an employee there. So they finally said, hey, look, I need to talk to you. And I said, well, okay, what's up? And they go, well, them guys burnt homeboy for 10 G's.